These, some of the worst psychological experiments in recorded history, ranked from mildly concerning to humanity needs a reset button. Number 10. The children who lied for $1. In this experiment, each kid is told to do an extremely boring task. Say, count every single grain of rice into a bucket, and when they are done, count them back out of the bucket. The kids spend hours doing all sorts of mind-numbing tasks. Once finished, they are then given either $20 or $1 to lie to the next participant that the task was really fun. Then researchers asked each of them how much they actually enjoyed the tasks. The $20 group were like, "It was awful. Most boring 2 hours of my life. I only did it for the money and I'm proud of that, but never again." Meanwhile, the $1 group were like, "It was actually kind of fun. I genuinely enjoyed myself." You just counted rice grains for 2 hours straight. How did you enjoy that? Turns out their brains just successfully gaslit them into believing they enjoyed it to justify what they did. Number 9, the hope experiment. This one is kind of sad. So basically, some psychologist wanted to test hope with rats. 2 groups of rats. He dumps the first group into a bucket of water with no way to escape. On average, the rats swam for about 15 minutes before giving up and drowning. Then he did the same with the next group, and just around the 15-minute mark when they are about to give up, he rescues them, takes them out, and dries them off. He lets them rest for a while before doing the diabolical act of throwing them back in. This time, they swam for hours. These poor rats held onto that memory of being saved and lasted for up to 60 hours before giving up and drowning. This experiment, despite how cruel, gives a whole deeper meaning to the saying, "Where there's life, there is hope." Number 8. Harlow's monkeys. The mass execution of rats in the previous experiment is nothing compared to this cruel experiment. Another psychologist named Harlow wanted to figure out which mattered more to babies, food or affection. Don't worry, he did not use actual human babies. No, rather he just ripped baby monkeys from their mothers and gave them to 2 creepy robot stand-ins, no big deal. One robot was a cold hard wire mother that provided food. The other was covered in soft clothing but gave no food. So yeah, they basically wanted baby monkeys to choose between 2 basic needs every infant needs to develop well. Surprisingly, a lot of the monkeys latched on to the soft-clothed robot like their lives depended on it, even if it meant starving. They concluded that infants raised without real affection grew up emotionally destroyed and aggressive. I sure hope they returned the babies back to their mothers. Number 7, the Stanford prison experiment, aka the face of evil inside you. So in 1971, a guy named Philip Zimbardo, insane in my opinion, wanted to see how easily regular people could turn cruel if put in a position of power. Instead of setting up a controlled ethical experiment, as the theme of this video would suggest, you probably have an idea of what he did instead. He set up a fake prison in the basement of Stanford University and turned students into either guards or prisoners. This experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks, but had to be cut short after 6 days due to the fact that people went completely crazy. At first, it was all an act. The guards acting like what they presumed guards to be, and the prisoners trying to put on their best performance as well. But after a day, it all went to hell. The guards made the prisoners do push-ups, strip down, and clean toilets with their hands, while some of the prisoners had emotional breakdowns. Some even had to be pulled out after just 36 hours. By now, you'd think Zimbardo had had enough and shut it down. Nope. He kept it going as long as possible, until his literal girlfriend intervened. Number 6, the obedience to authority experiment. This is probably the most normal scientist on this list, which, let's be honest, isn't saying much. But the real reason this has made the cut isn't because of what the scientist did, it's because of what the participants did. In this experiment, the participants were told to administer increasingly intense shocks to another person, an actor, for every question they got wrong. The shock wasn't real, but they didn't know that. It got to a point the shocks became unbearable, and the actor started screaming, begging, and eventually went silent. Still, 65% of people went all the way to the maximum voltage, believing they might have just killed someone just because an authority figure said, "Please continue." It showed how terrifyingly easy it is to throw moral values aside just to obey. Number 5. The learned helplessness dogs. Another insane psychologist named Martin Seligman took dogs and shocked them repeatedly with no way of escape. Eventually, when escape was possible, the poor dogs couldn't bring themselves to try. They just laid down there and accepted it. Although an abusive experiment, it shows how abuse trains people to stay in pain even when they get an opportunity for freedom eventually. Number 4, the Little Albert experiment. In 1920, A baby named Albert was introduced to a white rat. No problem. As an innocent kid who had not yet been conditioned to the emotional trauma we get from the rodent species, Albert was excited to meet this tiny, fluffy animal. He played with the animal anytime it came around. But after some time, whenever the researchers brought out the rat, they made a loud, banging noise that startled Albert. They did it once, then again, and again, until it got to a point where, even without the noise, once Albert saw the rat, he freaked out. And he didn't stop there. Albert not only developed an extreme phobia of white, fluffy rats, but also white, fluffy dogs, white, fluffy rabbits, and Santa's beards. And the worst part, they never deconditioned him. His phobia lasted a lifetime. So cruel. What kind of parents even agree to such a thing? Then again, it was 1920, when asbestos was a household spice and kids played with mercury for fun. Number 3, the monster study. Okay, I don't know what it is with the early 20th century and traumatizing children, because they sure do seem to have a knack for it. In 1939, a twisted speech experiment, now known as the monster study, was conducted on orphan kids with little to no speech impediments. The kids were split into 2 groups. One group got supportive speech therapy, while the other was intentionally torn down and emotionally abused. They were called dumb and abnormal. Some of these kids were not even stutterers, but they became anxious, withdrawn, and developed real speech issues for life. I don't even know how something as twisted as this was let to slide. Number 2, the pit of despair. So you remember that guy who ripped baby monkeys from their mother's bosoms and gave them to 2 robots? Yeah, Harlow. Well, turns out he wasn't done emotionally scarring primates yet. He looked at those already traumatized baby monkeys and said, not miserable enough. So he built a device called, I kid you not, the pit of despair. It was literally a metal box where he isolated baby monkeys in darkness. No contact, no comfort, no nothing. He left them there for weeks. Some monkeys came out rocking back and forth, refusing to eat or interact ever again. And why, you may ask? Did he choose to subject these creatures to sure psychological torment? He wanted to understand depression and how isolation affects it. He also claimed he wanted to see if and how it could be reversible, so he had to produce it artificially. He tried pairing them with therapist monkeys, which went terribly, by the way. And even though his experiment did eventually influence how people understand emotions, at what cost? There were definitely better ways to go about it, which were later done, and they gave the same results. But nothing he did can prepare you for what comes next. Number 1, the Nazi twin experiments. You've probably heard of the Nazi experiments, a series of dark and twisted human trials ranging from freezing people alive to injecting strange chemicals into their eyes, all in the name of science. Probably some of the worst experiments ever conducted in recorded history. But today my focus is on the twin experiments. Led by Dr. Josef Mengele, nicknamed the Angel of Death, these experiments took place in Auschwitz during World War II. He was obsessed with twins, believing they held the key to understanding genetics and heredity in ways that could be used for disturbing ideological goals. Here's what happened. Twins, most of them children, were taken from their families and subjected to cruel and invasive procedures. Some were injected with diseases to observe how both twins reacted. Others were exposed to chemicals or surgeries without anesthesia. And if one twin didn't make it, the other was often sacrificed so their bodies could be compared. At one point, he even attempted to surgically create conjoined twins by stitching children together, most of whom couldn't survive the infections that followed. Out of approximately 1,500 pairs of twins subjected to these horrors, only about 200 made it out alive. Some of those survivors later shared their stories, helping the world understand the true depth of what happened.